I'm Gracie, 27, juggling both remote and office work. My husband, Aaron, is the same age, and he has a deep affection for his mother, Alisa, who can often be quite harsh toward me. Despite the challenges in our marriage, we recently celebrated our second anniversary, and I take pride in how I've navigated everything. Work has become my escape, leading to frequent promotions, a rarity for women in my field. Currently, I'm on a business trip across Europe for meetings. In the middle of an important meeting, my phone vibrated on silent. Seeing 2 missed calls, I worried it might be urgent. Upon checking, I noticed both calls were from Alisa. What's going on? I wondered anxiously. Fearing something might be wrong, I decided to return the call, but just as I stood up to leave my desk, Alisa called me again. Hello, Gracie. Where are you? She inquired, her tone laced with annoyance. I answered, feeling less than thrilled with her attitude. Perhaps I should have let it go, I thought. Hi, Alisa. How are you? Is there something urgent? Why didn't you respond? I asked where you are. She replied impatiently, although her tone irritated me. I was in the midst of a critical meeting and wanted to avoid a conflict, so I replied softly, I'm sorry. Didn't Aaron inform you I'm in a meeting while on a business trip? Can I call you back once I'm finished? Of course, Aaron told me. But why are you out of the house and away from your husband? You need to come home right this minute, Alisa insisted, making her usual unreasonable demand. I'm sorry, Alisa, but I'm in an important meeting, and I can't just, I started to explain, but she interrupted me. You're so domineering, even as just Aaron's wife. I don't want to hear your excuses. Just return home right now. Today is significant. Do you even know what today is? Significant? I questioned, taken aback. Alisa finally revealed. Today is my 60th birthday, she stated smugly. I remembered her birthday was supposed to be at the end of the month, and it surprised me that it was today, especially since I was away for work. My husband and I had already organized a special dinner for her at a lovely restaurant. I was fed up with Alisa trying to control me again. It seemed she was becoming increasingly demanding, especially when I had important work commitments. As I mentioned, I'm on a business trip, so I can't come home. Oh, that's amusing, she scoffed. I spoke to Aaron earlier, and he said he'd take the day off for me. All the relatives will be there. But you, Gracie, always working. You're so unfeeling. How can you treat your husband's family like this? I knew if I continued listening, her sarcasm would only escalate. Since I was still in a meeting, I couldn't prolong the conversation, so I stated, I'm sorry, but regardless of what you say, I can't attend your 60th birthday celebration. Suddenly, Alisa's tone shifted dramatically. She inhaled deeply and declared, Fine, I won't consider you family anymore. Don't come back. It's a divorce. Aaron deserves someone better. Her harsh words struck me hard. I felt both anger and hurt, but I didn't want to argue with her on the phone. I replied, Okay, I'll talk to you when I'm home. I'm sorry, but I need to go. What's with that attitude? I told you not to return. I'll speak to Aaron myself, she snapped before hanging up. I felt drained from dealing with my mother-in-law and returned to the meeting, letting out a heavy sigh. After 2 days of meetings, I finally returned home. I was so furious and frustrated with my mother-in-law that I barely registered how I made it back. As I opened the front door and called out, I heard Aaron's tired voice say, Welcome back. I kicked off my heels and headed straight for the living room, leaving my luggage by the door. There, I found a pile of cardboard boxes with Aaron sweating as he sealed them up. What's with all these boxes? I inquired. Aaron explained that they contained my belongings. He told me that Alisa had indeed celebrated her 60th birthday on the day she called me. Without my presence, she claimed I had ignored her birthday and been rude over the phone. Alisa even told the relatives she wanted me divorced and sent back to my parents' house because I wasn't good enough for her son. This sounded exactly like something Alisa would do, so I asked Aaron, and what happened next? Did your mother tell you to divorce me, and you agreed? No, I didn't exactly agree, Aaron replied, but she insisted I pack your things, and I didn't have much choice. What was I supposed to do? He paused from sealing the boxes, speaking wearily. What do you mean you didn't stand up to your mother? Does that mean you're okay with the idea of getting a divorce? Aaron revealed that his father, Alex, had also told him, if Alisa is upset, life will be tough for you, so you better do what she says. So, Aaron went along with the divorce. I couldn't believe he was accepting the divorce so easily. What's wrong with his family? His father is controlled by his mother, and Aaron seems to blindly follow her too. It felt like I had no support. As I struggled to find the words, Aaron said, "What my mother says is final. It's only until she cools down and things settle. This divorce isn't real. I'll come for you when things are better." He looked at me with pleading eyes. I wished Aaron would show that kind of desperation toward his own mother. How could a grown man like him be so intimidated by Alisa? I felt like there was no saving this situation. It was almost shameful to question what I ever saw in him. But then I realized this could be a chance for me. Remaining with Aaron would only bring me more stress from Alisa, who would relentlessly push for a divorce. Maybe it was a stroke of luck to get a divorce from him without too much trouble. I was fully capable of supporting myself. Even living alone wouldn't leave me wanting for anything. Suddenly, everything became much clearer. I looked at Aaron and said, "Okay, let's go ahead and get a divorce." Immediately after, I called Alisa. After a few attempts, she finally answered. "Hello," she said. "As you requested, we're getting a divorce," I stated quietly. Alisa's voice brimmed with triumph as she replied, "Yes, please do leave. Finally, you've come to understand that you're not suitable for Aaron. I'm so relieved. Don't worry, I'll find him a new wife who will be obedient, beautiful, and nice to her in-laws," she continued. "I'm sure Aaron will be popular. I'll take care of him until he finds someone else, so you don't have to fret about that." Once her sarcasm was done, I told her, "Don't get me wrong. Oh, you're just a sore loser. Don't worry about me. Oh, and Gracie," she chirped, "I've already got the divorce papers from the city office and handed them to Aaron. Make sure to sign them." Without saying another word, she hung up. Aaron, who had been listening to my side of the conversation, appeared relieved. I thought, is Aaron really that oblivious? I asked him, "By the way, does your mother know you're a full-time house husband now?" He responded, "How could I possibly tell her that? My mother is obsessed with the idea that I'm a high-ranking employee at a big company." He said this with conviction. "Oh, right," I replied, thinking back. "You've never been truthful with Alisa. You always wear a frayed sweatshirt at home, but change into a suit whenever you go to see her. You also pretend not to be home when she calls, making her think you're at work." At her 60th birthday celebration, Alisa had bragged about how devoted her son was, even taking a day off just to attend her party. She mentioned that with his status, he could easily find a more obedient and attractive wife than me. I was sure the truth would come out once we were divorced, but Alisa, who thought her son was perfect, would never suspect that he had actually quit his job at the major company. The reality was that Aaron had resigned from his job about a year ago. What Alisa viewed as her elite son, a symbol of prestige, was now just an unemployed full-time house husband. Aaron had lost his job due to a significant error that led to a written apology, a demotion, and a pay cut. He probably hadn't told her about this because he knew she would be furious. Aaron must have been profoundly shaken by his fall from grace since Alisa had always coddled him. He became quite fragile and sensitive. Just the thought of returning to the office to face the fallout made him anxious and ill. He couldn't even bring himself to leave the house, let alone go to work. At first, Aaron attempted to report his absences and request paid leave, but eventually, he stopped even calling in. As his unexcused absences piled up, he was terminated. Now he seemed to have no intention of looking for another job and was heavily depending on my income. He hadn't informed Alisa of this because he feared her reaction. I felt a bit let down that I wouldn't get to see Alisa's face when she discovered Aaron's predicament. After I left, I imagined she'd be shocked, perhaps even have a stroke, but that was no longer my concern. Aaron handed me the divorce papers, saying, "This is just a cover to placate my mother." "All right," I said, quickly signing the papers and securing a lease for a new apartment, planning to move in as soon as I could. A month later, Alisa called me. Even though I thought I had severed ties with her for good, I was curious about what she wanted, so I answered, "What do you want now? Aren't you happy to be rid of me?" I added a touch of sarcasm. Alisa responded, "You haven't changed a bit. Just listen to me," she continued in her usual tone, discussing Aaron. After I left, she had visited his apartment several times to help with chores. Each time, she found him lounging around in his room, showing no signs of heading to work. Since he didn't appear ill, she asked me if I knew what was going on. I stifled a laugh and replied nonchalantly, "Well, Aaron is like that because he has no plans to work again." Alisa seemed to have forgotten that she was the one who expelled me and asked, "Gracie, can you do something about it?" "Why should I? You didn't want me in your family and wanted nothing to do with me," I said. It was so typical of her to make a request only when it suited her. After treating me poorly for so long, she suddenly asked, "I was wondering if you said something to Aaron before you left." I couldn't believe she was trying to cast me as the villain. Doesn't she see that the issue lies with her son, not me? I'm the one who was hurt here. "Oh really?" Alisa said. "You only married Aaron for a luxurious lifestyle, right? So why would a divorce be so painful for you?" She looked at me as if I had married Aaron solely for his wealth. "Are you serious? I was the one supporting Aaron financially during our marriage. I was the one providing for him in reality. I couldn't maintain a lavish lifestyle because of Aaron." While I was at peace with the divorce, I pondered whether I should request alimony. Alisa was incredulous at my suggestion. "How could you even think of that, Gracie? You just forgot to ask for alimony, didn't you? Aaron has a higher income and status than you. Don't be unreasonable. If you want money, Aaron can afford it. After all, he works at a prestigious company." Alisa's argument was as absurd as ever. Perhaps Aaron hadn't been honest with her yet. I didn't want to come off as a snitch, but I saw this as a chance to strike back at her. So I told her, "Your esteemed son is actually a stay-at-home husband. He left his job a while ago." "What? You're lying," Alisa shouted, clearly unable to believe me. Her voice was so loud it nearly hurt my ears. I pulled the phone away from my ear and said, "Why not check with the company? You'll discover who's being truthful." Alisa fell silent for a moment before responding. "Well, what if that's true? How will we cope? I can't support my son on my pension alone, and no one will want to marry him if he's out of work. What are we going to do?" Her tone softened, and I couldn't help but smirk. "What are we going to do?" I echoed. Alisa remained quiet for a moment, then mumbled something to someone beside her. Finally, she said, "Hey, Gracie, would you please come back home?" I was taken aback by her sudden shift in tone but replied firmly, "No, we're already divorced. I wouldn't return to your family even if the world turned upside down." Then I heard a commotion in the background. Someone was shouting. It sounded like Aaron. "I told you I'd come for you when things calmed down," Aaron's voice echoed. Alisa replied, Yes, you could remarry my son if you wanted." "What are you saying?" I interjected. "No way, I wouldn't do that for anything. Thanks, but seriously, no." I made it clear to Alisa that I had no interest in getting entangled with her son or dealing with any more toxic relationships. I wanted nothing to do with someone so devoted to his mother. "I did what you wanted, so please stop changing your mind," I said. Alisa responded, "But there's a bit of banter here. It's not like you should take my words too seriously. You've been responding with a casual attitude, haven't you? I didn't think you'd actually go through with divorcing my son." She seemed caught off guard by my firm rejection. In response to Alisa's bitter excuses, I said, "Well, I was just putting up with it. Besides, Aaron packed my things and kicked me out without discussing it with me." I let out my frustration, detailing everything she had done to me. "You see, that was just a joke," she countered. "A joke? It's much worse than that," I exclaimed, feeling completely fed up. There was nothing more to discuss. I glanced at my watch. My lunch break had been wasted on this pointless conversation. "Ah, Alisa, are you done now?" I asked. "What, Gracie? What did you say?" she replied, her voice still annoyingly sweet. Did Alisa really think a sugary tone would elicit a favorable response? Knowing I wouldn't meet her expectations, I said, "I'm going to hang up now. I have another meeting shortly and need to go over some documents." As I began to disconnect the call, Alisa insisted, Wait, Gracie, hey, Gracie, say something." I could hear her shouting, and she scolded Aaron, saying, "You didn't handle this properly, and look what's happened." It was clear Alisa was placing the blame on everyone but herself. I was so fed up with her that I hung up and blocked her number. Afterwards, Aaron kept trying to reach me. Seizing the opportunity, I instructed my lawyer to pursue alimony. Aaron's family, likely anxious about legal consequences, quickly provided the alimony in one lump sum. It appeared my ex-in-laws advanced the funds. As a result, Alex and Alisa frequently berated Aaron, urging him daily to find a job, which he grew tired of. The once privileged family had fallen significantly from their previous status. Aaron ended up moving back in with his parents because he couldn't afford his apartment. He blamed them for his divorce and was now draining their pension and retirement savings. Like mother, like son, they pointed fingers at each other for their problems and refused to reflect on their own actions. They were even planning to apply for welfare soon. I hoped the government would help them realize that their selfish behaviors couldn't continue. As for me, the proposal I made during my business trip was accepted, leading to a significant contract signing. I received a promotion, a higher salary, and now enjoy a luxurious single life free from the torment of in-laws and financial dependence on family members. If I ever consider marriage again, I'll certainly do a thorough background check to avoid any mama's boys or difficult in-laws. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video, and stay amazed.